As a survivor of the coming in contact with the narcissistic archetype this lifetime, meaning I have a narcissistic mother, but I say the narcissistic archetype because I try to depersonalize the my relationship to that particular energy. As a person that has trauma in general, doesn't have to be from a narcissistic mother. Um, you can tend to be over aware, and honestly, I feel like that's where people develop. Not everybody, but for some people, their extrasensory abilities develop from trauma. And if you even look at the stories of superheroes, which I feel is a story of um, the gods and goddesses, the archetypes on Earth, I don't think there's anything. I don't think that that's false. You know, those powers are real to me. Um, we can tend to get in our own way with our extrasensory abilities. Remember when you were a child, if you were blessed, or if you had the destiny to be able to live out your dreams as a child, um, then you can remember a time where you just kind of didn't think about what was going to happen next, who you were going to meet, how things were going to happen, making anything happen. You just lived in your creativity, and you met who you met, and you um, everything came naturally because you weren't thinking about it, you weren't trying to force it. Well, for me, it's not until 12 or 13 years old that my mom began to become insidiously involved in sabotaging my efforts, which really weren't efforts. Um, it almost seemed to me like she thought her reaction to me was that of a person that was like, I'm trying to do something to hurt her by me getting attention for the things I was good at, you know. And 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 for me that was at the time I got a lot of attention growing up in St. Louis as a singer. I was a lead choir director when I was 9 years old at church. And it was a big church too. It was a mega church in St. Louis at the time. And I was also on the radio every Sunday night singing live. And I didn't know that. I didn't know any of that, like what that meant. But in the adult world, that looks like you're like trying to come up. You know what I'm saying? You're like doing stuff. You're like um, hustling or something, right? But in my life, I was just being myself. I knew I loved to sing, so I went after opportunities to sing. It wasn't me trying to accomplish anything. And for me, that's always the space that I've always wanted to be back in. And I'm starting to see glimpses of that attitude now, of that um it's a allowance for me because I'm also aware of the other side too. That's the thing about the blessing of healing trauma, is that now I'm even stronger because I do have an experience of the spectrum of trying to create, because all this time after going through so much with my mother in my childhood, that really the things that really hurt me, what you can do to hurt me the most is get in my way. I don't like anybody to get into my way, my space, and get in the way of my dreams or my creativity. Like, who does? Nobody wants that, you know. So now that the dust is settling for me in like my sacral chakra and stuff like that, and I'm clearing out the energy and all the disappointments. I'm saying that, us people with PTSD, what could help us is we got back into a space where we weren't so aware and trying to basically not be abused anymore. It's like I am going to make this happen. You can't get in my way anymore, you know. Um, and I feel like that fierce will is what you need in order to heal, in order to keep striving and keep moving forward. But it does get in the way of more subtle energies and um, allowing the subtle world to bring your vision into creative life, you know, because you're looking for a certain result, because you've been hurt in the past, and someone, you know, or for me, my mother didn't want me to, in her eyes, beat her at life because she was super jealous and she didn't know how to handle those triggers. She handled them in a very disappointing way. And so, in turn, I learned to protect myself. These aren't necessarily, these are good and bad things. You mean as far as value judgment goes? I learned to not share myself as much. I learned to hold back my energy, and I learned to force things, which is all things I didn't do before I felt attacked. In that book, A Course in Miracles, it talks about the perception of being attacked. And it definitely is a perception. Part of healing for me has been seeing things in a different way. Seeing that I went through those things for a reason, and thanking the pain and the heartbreak, the disappointment in the situation for allowing me to have that experience instead of hating my life. you know it allows for the universe to continue to work. You want a continuation of your life. You don't want to be at a standstill because you're not appreciative of both the pain and the pleasure, because you don't want to say the good and the bad. That's a value judgment. It's necessarily good or bad. It's all in how you perceive it. So I guess I'm learning to perceive my pain as just an experience that my archetype, my being, my soul needed to experience this lifetime for one reason or another, which will be forever unfolding to me throughout my life. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for watching and listening and subscribing. I will be at Phoenix and Dragon in Atlanta next Friday for Twerk and Tarot. I also have a class tonight that I didn't post because it was impromptu for me. A yoga studio or an affiliate, a partner of a yoga studio, reached out to me to do a class, a Twerk and Tarot class, and I wasn't planning on that. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the venue even looks like. I don't know how many people are going to be there. So I didn't really post that. So, but I will definitely be at Phoenix and Dragon. I want you guys to show up because if you do, then we can have that Twerk and Tarot event every month there. And I will love for us to have fun and grow as a community. I feel like the best way to get to know people is through playing with them, not necessarily through conversation. You don't get to see people's personality. You don't get to see what makes people laugh. You don't get to see, because really the real you is your laughter and your brightness, your smile, your charisma, your presence. The real you isn't living in the past and the pain. That's not the real you. Your pain and your wounds aren't the real you. Just in case you didn't know. I'll talk to you later. Bye.